Summary and Analysis of In the Walls of Eryx by H.P. Lovecraft. Summary. The story opens with the narrator preparing to document his findings on Venus, emphasizing the uniqueness of his experience. He notes the date, March 18th, and mentions being assigned under Miller's group. This introduction sets the stage for the exploration of Venus, hinting at the unusual and potentially dangerous discoveries that await him. After receiving his equipment, the narrator undergoes a mask drill to ensure he is fit for duty. This moment highlights the harsh conditions of Venus, where the atmosphere requires specialized gear for survival. It establishes the seriousness of the expedition and the challenges the crew will face in this alien environment. The narrator departs from the Crystal Company's post at Terra Nova, embarking on his journey through the jungle. He follows a mapped route by Anderson, but the terrain proves difficult due to recent rains. This scene illustrates the physical challenges of navigating Venus's jungles, foreshadowing the obstacles he will encounter. As he progresses, the narrator describes the jungle's vegetation, noting its leathery toughness that makes cutting through it laborious. He reflects on how the moisture affects the plants, creating a challenging environment for exploration. This detail emphasizes the alien nature of Venus and the physical toll it takes on the explorers. By noon, the conditions improve slightly, allowing the narrator to move more easily through the jungle. He expresses frustration with the heavy Carter oxygen masks, wishing for a lighter alternative. This moment highlights the practical difficulties faced by the explorers and their desire for better equipment. The narrator uses a crystal detector that confirms the presence of crystals in the area, as indicated by Anderson's report. He muses about the principle of affinity that guides the detector, contrasting it with the outdated methods of divining rods. This scene establishes the scientific approach of the expedition and hints at the valuable resources they seek. He reflects on the local man-lizards, whom he views with disdain, believing they guard the crystal deposits foolishly. The narrator's thoughts reveal his contempt for these creatures, whom he considers inferior despite their apparent civilization. This perspective sets up a conflict between the explorers and the indigenous species of Venus. The narrator expresses a desire to eliminate the man-lizards, suggesting that a military force could easily overpower them. He dismisses their cities as primitive and questions their intelligence and communication skills. This moment underscores his arrogance and foreshadows potential ethical dilemmas regarding colonization and exploitation. The narrator begins his expedition into the dense jungles of Venus, equipped with a crystal detector and a heavy oxygen mask. He struggles against the tough vegetation, noting how the rain has made the jungle almost impassable. Despite the challenges, he is determined to follow the route mapped out by Anderson, believing it will lead him to valuable crystal deposits. This scene establishes the harsh environment of Venus and the physical toll it takes on the narrator, highlighting his resolve. As he navigates the jungle, the narrator reflects on the man-lizards and their peculiar relationship with the crystals. He expresses disdain for their worship of the crystals, suggesting that if they understood their true value, they would allow humans to harvest them freely. This moment reveals the narrator's arrogance and his belief in human superiority over the alien species. It also sets up the conflict between the humans and the man-lizards, foreshadowing future encounters. The narrator's thoughts turn to the potential for military intervention against the man-lizards. He fantasizes about sending a fleet of ships to wipe them out, viewing them as inferior beings. This scene emphasizes the narrator's growing frustration and his desire for a more aggressive approach to the situation on Venus. It also highlights the theme of colonialism and the exploitation of alien cultures for human gain. As he continues deeper into the jungle, the narrator encounters signs of the man-lizard's presence, heightening his sense of danger. He describes the unsettling feeling of being watched, which adds tension to the narrative. This moment serves to illustrate the constant threat the man-lizards pose, making the reader aware of the precariousness of the narrator's mission. The atmosphere becomes increasingly foreboding as he realizes he is not alone. The narrator finally reaches a clearing where he discovers a large, ornate temple dedicated to the crystals. He is struck by the craftsmanship of the structure, contrasting with his earlier dismissive views of the man-lizards. This revelation forces him to reconsider his assumptions about their culture and intelligence. The temple symbolizes the complexity of the man-lizard's society, challenging the narrator's simplistic view of them as mere savages. Inside the temple, the narrator witnesses a ritual performed by the man-lizards, which involves offerings to the crystals. He observes their reverence and the intricate movements of the ritual, which further complicates his perception of them. This scene deepens the conflict between his scientific curiosity and his disdain for their beliefs. It highlights the theme of misunderstanding between cultures, as the narrator grapples with the significance of what he is witnessing. After the ritual, the narrator sneaks closer to the crystals, driven by greed and curiosity. He feels a magnetic pull towards them, which he cannot resist. This moment illustrates his internal conflict between his scientific objectives and the ethical implications of his actions. It also foreshadows potential consequences for his intrusion into the man-lizard's sacred space. Suddenly, the narrator is discovered by a group of man-lizards who react with hostility. He realizes that his presence has violated their sacred space, and he is now in grave danger. This confrontation escalates the tension and forces the narrator to confront the reality of his situation. It marks a turning point in the story, as he must now navigate the consequences of his actions and the hostility of the man-lizards. The narrator continues his journey through the dense jungles of Venus, reflecting on the challenging terrain and the oppressive heat. He notes how the vegetation changes from tough and leathery to soft and rubbery, making his progress slow. Despite the difficulties, he feels a sense of determination to reach the crystal deposits, which he believes are being guarded by the man-lizards. This determination highlights his obsession with the crystals and foreshadows the conflict that is to come. As he navigates the jungle, the narrator's thoughts turn to the man-lizards, whom he regards with disdain. He contemplates their primitive lifestyle and their worship of the crystals, which he sees as a waste. His condescending attitude reveals his belief in human superiority and sets the stage for a potential clash between the two species. This moment underscores the theme of colonialism and exploitation present in the story. The narrator's crystal detector begins to function effectively, confirming his suspicions about the location of the crystal deposits. He feels a surge of excitement, believing that he is close to uncovering a significant find. This moment of hope contrasts sharply with the lurking danger of the man-lizards, who he knows are watching him. The tension builds as the narrator's ambition drives him deeper into the jungle, unaware of the imminent threat. Suddenly, the narrator spots a group of man-lizards in the distance, their presence sending a chill down his spine. He realizes that they are aware of his presence and that he is in their territory. The fear of being discovered adds urgency to his mission, as he must now navigate both the physical challenges of the jungle and the threat posed by the man-lizards. This encounter emphasizes the precariousness of his situation and the stakes involved in his quest. In a moment of desperation, the narrator decides to hide and observe the man-lizards from a distance. He notes their behavior and the way they interact with their environment, which is both fascinating and unsettling. This observation reveals the complexity of the man-lizard society, challenging the narrator's earlier assumptions about their intelligence. It also serves to humanize the creatures, complicating the narrative of colonial exploitation. After a tense standoff, the narrator manages to slip away unnoticed, but the encounter leaves him shaken. He reflects on the man-lizard's capabilities and begins to question his own assumptions about their intelligence. This moment of introspection marks a turning point for the narrator as he grapples with the moral implications of his mission. It foreshadows a deeper conflict between his ambitions and the reality of the beings he seeks to exploit. As he continues deeper into the jungle, the narrator's thoughts become increasingly paranoid. He feels as though the man-lizards are always watching him, heightening his sense of isolation. This paranoia reflects his internal struggle and the psychological toll of his expedition. It also serves to build suspense, as the reader senses that danger is lurking just around the corner. Finally, The narrator stumbles upon a clearing that reveals a massive crystal deposit, shimmering in the light. Overwhelmed by the sight, he feels a mix of triumph and dread, knowing that the man-lizards will not take kindly to his intrusion. This moment represents the culmination of his journey, but it also signifies the beginning of a confrontation with the guardians of the crystals. The stakes are now higher than ever, as he prepares to claim what he believes is rightfully his. As the narrator delves deeper into the jungle, he encounters the man-lizards, who are fiercely protective of their crystal deposits. This confrontation escalates as the narrator realizes that the creatures are not just primitive beings, but possess a complex society and a fierce sense of territoriality. The tension builds as he narrowly escapes an ambush, highlighting the dangers of his expedition and the stakes involved in his search for the crystals. This moment serves as a turning point, forcing him to reconsider his approach to the creatures and their environment. After evading the man-lizards, the narrator discovers an ancient temple dedicated to the crystals, revealing the depth of the lizard's reverence for these gems. Inside the temple, he finds inscriptions that suggest a long history of worship and a belief in the crystal's power. This discovery shifts his perspective as he begins to see the crystals not merely as resources to exploit, but as sacred objects to the man-lizards. The temple becomes a symbol of the cultural clash between the narrator's intentions and the values of the indigenous beings. The climax unfolds as the narrator, driven by greed and ambition, decides to take a crystal from the temple despite the warnings of the man-lizards. This act of theft triggers a violent response as the lizards swarm to defend their sacred site. The narrator realizes too late the consequences of his actions as he is captured and brought before the lizard leaders. This moment encapsulates the theme of hubris, illustrating how his disregard for their culture leads to dire repercussions. In captivity, the narrator learns about the man-lizard's history and their connection to the crystals through a series of visions induced by the crystal's energy. These visions reveal the lizard's struggles and their deep-rooted connection to the land and its resources. This experience transforms the narrator's understanding as he begins to empathize with their plight. It serves as a critical moment of character development, shifting him from a mere opportunist to someone who recognizes the importance of coexistence. As the narrator grapples with his newfound understanding, he devises a plan to escape and return to his ship, hoping to report the truth about the man-lizards and their culture. He manages to outsmart his captors, using the knowledge he gained from the visions to navigate the jungle. This escape sequence is tense, filled with close calls and the threat of being recaptured. It underscores the narrator's growth, as he now values the lives and beliefs of the creatures he once sought to exploit. Upon reaching his ship, the narrator reflects on his experiences and the lessons learned from the man-lizards. He contemplates the ethical implications of exploiting resources without understanding the cultures that hold them sacred. This moment of introspection is pivotal, as he resolves to share a more nuanced account of his findings rather than a simple report on crystal deposits. It emphasizes the importance of respecting other cultures and the consequences of colonial attitudes. In the final moments, the narrator prepares his report, intending to advocate for a more respectful approach to the man-lizards and their crystals. He acknowledges that the crystals are not just valuable resources, but are intertwined with the identity and spirituality of the lizard people. This decision marks a significant shift in his character, as he chooses to prioritize understanding over greed. The story concludes with a sense of hope for a potential future of coexistence between humans and the man-lizards. The story ends with the narrator's departure from Venus, leaving behind the jungle and the man-lizards. He reflects on the complexities of their society and the lessons he has learned about respect and understanding. The closing lines evoke a sense of ambiguity about humanity's role in the universe and the need for humility in the face of other cultures. This ending reinforces the overarching themes of the story, leaving the reader to ponder the consequences of exploration and exploitation. Literary analysis. Published in 1935, In the Walls of Eryx was written during a time when H.P. Lovecraft was deeply immersed in his craft, having already established his unique style of cosmic horror. At this point in his life, Lovecraft was facing financial difficulties and personal challenges, yet he continued to produce influential works. His experiences and struggles during the Great Depression influenced his themes of existential dread and the insignificance of humanity in the universe. The 1930s were marked by significant global events, including the rise of totalitarian regimes and the looming threat of World War II. This period also saw advancements in science and technology, which Lovecraft often incorporated into his stories, reflecting the anxieties of modernity. The fascination with space exploration and the unknown, as seen in the Walls of Eryx, mirrors the cultural climate of curiosity and fear surrounding the cosmos during this time. Today, In the Walls of Eryx resonates with contemporary audiences due to its exploration of themes like isolation and the unknown. The story's setting on Venus and its depiction of alien life challenge readers to confront their own fears of the unfamiliar. Lovecraft's work continues to inspire modern horror and science fiction, highlighting the timeless nature of his themes and the ongoing fascination with extraterrestrial life. In the Walls of Eryx fits into Lovecraft's broader body of work, showcasing his signature style of blending science fiction with horror. This story, like many of his others, emphasizes humanity's vulnerability in the face of incomprehensible forces. Lovecraft's contributions to the genre have established him as a foundational figure in weird fiction, influencing countless authors and filmmakers in the years since. Listeners should pay attention to Lovecraft's use of vivid imagery and detailed descriptions of the alien environment on Venus. The contrast between the lush, dangerous jungle and the protagonist's technological equipment highlights the tension between nature and human innovation. Additionally, the portrayal of the man-lizards serves as a commentary on colonial attitudes, inviting listeners to reflect on deeper societal implications. A common misconception about In the Walls of Eryx is that it solely focuses on science fiction elements, neglecting its deeper philosophical themes. While the story features advanced technology and alien creatures, it also delves into existential questions about humanity's place in the universe. Recognizing this duality enriches the reading experience and reveals Lovecraft's intentions beyond mere entertainment. Initially, In the Walls of Eryx received mixed reviews, with some critics appreciating its imaginative scope while others dismissed it as mere pulp fiction. Over time, however, critical reception has evolved, with modern readers acknowledging Lovecraft's influence on the horror genre. Today, the story is often celebrated for its unique blend of science fiction and horror, showcasing Lovecraft's ability to evoke fear through the unknown. The setting of Venus in the Walls of Eryx reflects early 20th century scientific theories and popular beliefs about the planet. During Lovecraft's time, Venus was often imagined as a lush tropical world, influenced by the scientific speculation of the era. This historical context informs the story's depiction of alien life and the protagonist's interactions with the environment, grounding the narrative in the scientific imagination of the time. One major theme in the Walls of Eryx is the exploration of colonialism and exploitation. This theme is central to the work as it reflects the protagonist's attitude toward the indigenous man-lizards and their resources. The narrator's desire to exploit the crystals of Venus showcases a colonial mindset, viewing the native inhabitants as obstacles to be removed rather than beings with their own culture and rights. A specific example of this theme occurs when the narrator expresses his disdain for the man-lizards, stating, "I for one am tired of passing up the main deposits and merely seeking separate crystals out of jungle riverbeds." This quote highlights his view of the native species as inferior and merely a hindrance to his goals. The significance of this moment lies in how it encapsulates the colonial attitude of superiority and entitlement over resources. As the story progresses, the theme of colonialism evolves, particularly when the narrator contemplates the idea of wiping out the man-lizards. This turning point reveals the extent of his dehumanization of the natives, as he sees them not as sentient beings, but as mere obstacles. The resolution of this theme culminates in the narrator's internal conflict about the morality of his intentions, reflecting a deeper commentary on the consequences of colonialism. A second major theme is the conflict between civilization and primitivism. This theme relates to the first, as the narrator's view of the man-lizards represents a belief in the superiority of his own civilization over what he perceives as primitive cultures. This theme matters because it raises questions about what constitutes true civilization and the value of different cultures. An example of this theme is when the narrator dismisses the man-lizard cities as ant hills or beaver dams. This comparison diminishes their achievements and reinforces his belief in the superiority of human civilization. The significance of this moment lies in how it illustrates the narrator's inability to appreciate the complexity of other cultures. The themes of colonialism and civilization versus primitivism intersect throughout the story, creating tension between the narrator's ambitions and the reality of the man-lizard's existence. The narrator's desire to exploit the crystals leads him to dehumanize the natives, which in turn fuels his justification for their eradication. This thematic synthesis highlights the moral implications of his actions and the destructive nature of colonial attitudes. A deeper dive into the theme of exploitation reveals the broader implications of humanity's relationship with nature. The narrator's relentless pursuit of crystals symbolizes a disregard for the environment and the consequences of unchecked exploitation. This theme resonates with contemporary discussions about environmentalism and the need for sustainable practices. These themes resonate today as they address issues of colonialism, cultural superiority, and environmental exploitation. In a world grappling with the consequences of historical colonial practices and the urgent need for sustainable resource management, Lovecraft's work remains relevant. The universal aspects of greed and the moral dilemmas surrounding exploitation continue to resonate in modern society, prompting reflection on our own actions and attitudes. H.P. Lovecraft's prose style in the Walls of Eryx is marked by a rich, descriptive quality that immerses the reader in the alien landscape. For instance, he describes the jungles of Venus as always half impassable after a rain, which creates a vivid image of the treacherous environment. This attention to detail not only enhances the setting, but also evokes a sense of foreboding. Lovecraft's choice of words often carries a weight that amplifies the eerie atmosphere, making the reader feel the oppressive nature of the planet. The narrative structure of In the Walls of Eryx is linear, following the protagonist's journey through Venus as he documents his experiences. The story unfolds in a first-person account, allowing readers to experience events directly through the narrator's perspective. This organization creates a sense of immediacy and urgency, as the protagonist's discoveries and dangers are revealed in real time. The straightforward progression also mirrors the exploration theme, emphasizing the unknown and the protagonist's quest for knowledge. The story is told from a first-person point of view, which deeply shapes the reader's understanding of the protagonist's thoughts and fears. The narrator's voice is filled with skepticism and a sense of superiority, particularly in his disdain for the man-lizards he encounters. This perspective allows readers to see the alien world through a lens of human arrogance and curiosity, which adds complexity to the narrative. The subjective nature of the narration also invites readers to question the reliability of the protagonist's observations. Imagery and symbolism play a crucial role in the Walls of Eryx, particularly through the recurring motif of crystals. The crystals symbolize both the allure of discovery and the dangers of obsession, as the protagonist is drawn to them despite the risks posed by the native creatures. Additionally, the jungle itself serves as a symbol of the unknown, representing both beauty and peril. This duality enhances the story's themes of exploration and the consequences of human greed. The pacing in the Walls of Eryx is methodical, allowing tension to build gradually as the protagonist navigates the treacherous landscape. Lovecraft often employs detailed descriptions of the environment and the protagonist's struggles, which creates a sense of impending danger. For example, the protagonist's reflections on the weight of his oxygen mask and the difficulty of moving through the jungle contribute to a feeling of claustrophobia. This careful control of pacing keeps readers engaged and heightens the suspense as the story unfolds. Lovecraft's language choices in the Walls of Eryx exhibit a formal and archaic diction that enhances the otherworldly atmosphere. Phrases like damnable man-lizards and great deposit of crystals evoke a sense of disdain and wonder. The syntax often features long, complex sentences that reflect the protagonist's contemplative nature, drawing readers into his psyche. Additionally, the rhythmic quality of his prose, with its varied sentence lengths, contributes to the overall mood of unease and tension throughout the narrative. Character development in the Walls of Eryx is primarily revealed through the protagonist's internal monologue and reactions to his environment. Lovecraft uses this technique to expose the narrator's arrogance and fear, particularly in his interactions with the alien creatures. As the story progresses, the protagonist's character arc reflects a gradual realization of his vulnerability in the face of the unknown. This method of characterization allows readers to connect with the protagonist's journey while also critiquing his hubris. In the Walls of Eryx showcases Lovecraft's technical mastery through its blend of science fiction and horror elements. The innovative use of a first-person narrative in an alien setting allows for a unique exploration of existential themes. Lovecraft's ability to create a palpable sense of dread and curiosity about the unknown is a hallmark of his craft. This work stands out for its intricate world-building and the psychological depth of its protagonist, making it a significant contribution to the genre. One subtle detail most readers overlook is the protagonist's initial dismissal of the man-lizard's intelligence. He refers to their cities as ant hills or beaver dams, which trivializes their culture. This foreshadows his eventual underestimation of their capabilities and the consequences that follow. The protagonist's arrogance sets the stage for a deeper conflict, highlighting the theme of hubris in the face of the unknown. The character of Anderson, though minor, plays a crucial role in establishing the protagonist's motivations. His mapped route serves as a catalyst for the journey, symbolizing the reliance on others' knowledge in unfamiliar territories. This reliance reflects a broader theme of exploration and the inherent risks involved. Readers often overlook how Anderson's contributions shape the narrative's direction and the protagonist's fate. A recurring motif in the story is the oppressive jungle environment that mirrors the protagonist's mental state. The description of the jungle as half impassable and tangled reflects his feelings of entrapment and confusion. This motif emphasizes the struggle between man and nature, a common theme in Lovecraft's works. Readers may miss how the setting serves as a character itself, influencing the protagonist's actions and decisions. The protagonist's use of the term damnable man-lizards is a symbolic detail that reveals his prejudices. This language highlights his dehumanization of the creatures, suggesting a broader commentary on colonial attitudes. Lovecraft often critiques humanity's arrogance through such symbols, showing how fear can lead to misunderstanding. This detail is easily overlooked but crucial for understanding the protagonist's moral decline. A structural pattern in the narrative is the protagonist's gradual descent into madness, which is mirrored by the increasing danger of the jungle. As he navigates through the dense foliage, his thoughts become more erratic and paranoid. This pattern reflects Lovecraft's fascination with the fragility of the human mind when faced with the incomprehensible. Readers often miss how this structure enhances the horror elements of the story. Lovecraft's reference to the Carter oxygen masks is a subtle nod to contemporary scientific advancements and anxieties of his time. This detail grounds the story in the early 20th century, reflecting society's fascination with space exploration and the unknown. Readers may overlook how such references enrich the narrative by connecting it to real-world concerns about survival in alien environments. This historical context adds depth to the protagonist's struggles. An ironic element in the story is the protagonist's belief that the man-lizards lack intelligence, while he himself exhibits a lack of awareness. His underestimation leads to dire consequences, showcasing the irony of his situation. Lovecraft often employs irony to critique human arrogance, and this detail serves as a reminder of the dangers of hubris. Readers may miss this layer of irony, which deepens the narrative's critique of human superiority. The protagonist's journey through the jungle can be seen as a reflection of Lovecraft's own struggles with mental health and existential dread. The oppressive atmosphere and the protagonist's paranoia echo Lovecraft's personal battles with anxiety and fear of the unknown. This connection adds a layer of intimacy to the narrative, allowing readers to understand the emotional weight behind the protagonist's experiences. Many may overlook this autobiographical element, which enriches the text. What motivates the protagonist's disdain for the man-lizards, and how does this reflect broader themes of colonialism? The protagonist's view of the man-lizards as inferior beings reveals a troubling attitude that mirrors historical colonial attitudes towards indigenous populations. This question encourages us to consider how such perspectives persist in modern society and the ethical implications of viewing others as less than. How does the protagonist's reliance on technology, like the crystal detector and oxygen masks, shape his experience on Venus? This dependence highlights the tension between human innovation and the natural world, raising questions about our relationship with technology. In today's context, as we increasingly rely on technology, it prompts us to reflect on whether we are enhancing our lives or losing touch with nature. What ethical dilemmas arise from the protagonist's desire to wipe out the man-lizards? This extreme viewpoint raises questions about the morality of extermination in the name of progress or resource acquisition. It invites us to reflect on contemporary issues of environmental destruction and the rights of indigenous peoples, challenging us to consider the value of coexistence over domination. In what ways does the setting of Venus serve as a reflection of the protagonist's inner turmoil? The harsh and alien environment mirrors his conflicted feelings about his mission and the beings he encounters. This connection between setting and character invites readers to explore how our surroundings influence our emotions and decisions in real life. How might the story change if told from the perspective of the man-lizards? This alternate interpretation could provide insight into their culture and beliefs, challenging the protagonist's biased view. It encourages readers to think about the importance of perspective in understanding conflicts and the narratives we construct around the other. What if the protagonist were to form an alliance with the man-lizards instead of viewing them as enemies? This scenario could lead to a more peaceful resolution and a deeper understanding of their culture. It prompts us to consider how collaboration and empathy can lead to better outcomes in our own lives, especially in situations of conflict. How does Lovecraft's portrayal of the man-lizards reflect societal fears of the unknown? The protagonist's fear and disdain for the man-lizards can be seen as a metaphor for humanity's fear of the unfamiliar. This question invites us to reflect on how fear of the unknown shapes our perceptions of different cultures and communities today. What legacy does In the Walls of Eryx leave regarding the exploration of alien worlds and their inhabitants? The story raises questions about the ethics of exploration and exploitation, which remain relevant in discussions about space exploration today. It challenges us to think critically about our responsibilities as we venture into unknown territories, whether on Earth or beyond.